Welcome back to 32 Team 2012. The season is over. The Patriots are Super Bowl champions, and we will get into the recap of each division. We'll start here with the AFC North. We'll go in order of the standings. So Ravens finish atop the AFC North 13-3, Bengals 9-7, Steelers 5-11, and the Browns 2-14. The Ravens had the best record in the AFC, going 13-3, having the 1 seed. Their only losses came against the Eagles, who made the Super Bowl, beat the Bengals in Week 1, beat the Super Bowl champion Patriots in Week 3. Cleveland went on a nice little winning streak there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They won 12 games, 13-1 going into the last 2 weeks of the year. Played their starters in Week 16, lost that game to the Giants, and then rested their starters against the Bengals. Bengals needed this win to get in the playoffs. And against Tyrod Taylor, they get it. So a 13-3 year could have been better, but they rested their starters and somehow lost the Giants there at the end of the season. And then when it came to the postseason, they destroyed the Bengals in the divisional round, coming off the bye week. Ray Rice ran for 207 yards and then lost to the Patriots by the same score of the regular season game, 34-28, in overtime, where Rob Gronkowski caught 2 touchdowns and had the walk-off in overtime. So for the second straight season, the Ravens fall to the Patriots in the AFC Championship. There's a lot of questions surrounding the Ravens going into the offseason, including their impending free agents. You have, some depth guys, and then you get into the really big Dennis Pitta, your starting tight end. You got Kerry Williams, who's a starting corner on this team. You got your starting tackle. You have Joe Flacco, your starting quarterback, who's going to want a lot of money. Ed Reed, he probably will end up retiring, but if he doesn't, you're going to bring him back. You have Ray Rice as well. I mean, next year you have a lot of guys, so you make sure you can't use up all your cap. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Ravens. But they do finish 13-3, and they hope to build on that. They had the 14th total offense, 12th total defense. So that 13-3 record. They had the 4th most points scored, the 7th most points allowed. We get to the stats. Joe Flacco, 3,343 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions with 68% completion percentage. This is probably his best season of his career so far. Really good touchdown interception ratio. Not a lot of yards, but he didn't have to throw for a lot of yards. They went 13-3, and he won all 13 of those games. Tyrod Taylor didn't. Tyrod Taylor did have a decent year, 325 yards on 42 attempts with 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. I think he's a free agent next year, so a name to watch for somebody who needs a quarterback, maybe a trade candidate. He did look all right, and we'll get into his rushing stats too, which were pretty good. Ray Rice, 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns in 13 games. So he plays a full season. That's probably a lot more. Bernard Pierce, 7 touchdowns and 240 yards. Vonta Leach, a touchdown, 166 yards. Joe Flacco, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Tyrod Taylor in his game, and about half he played, 8 carries for 61 yards. So he can make some moves with his legs. Ray Rice is probably the best running back in the NFL, and he's due for a really, really big payday. Wide receiver core isn't great. You can see by the numbers here. Torrey Smith was their leading receiver. He's a 77 overall minus morale. He had 895 yards and 7 touchdowns. Anquan Bolden, 717 and 6 touchdowns. He's a 75 overall without morale. Dennis Pitta, obviously, 72 overall, 663 yards, 4 touchdowns. So they need to upgrade at wide receiver. Jacoby Jones, a speedster, the returner, 5.50 and 6 touchdowns. Ray Rice had a good year. Good year through the air, 4.2, 4-2. And Tandon Doss had 3 touchdowns. Ed Dixon got 1. Vontae Leach got 2. And Bernard Pierce got 1. So they need to upgrade a wide receiver. That's a position group they're going to look to draft or look to look to go trade for a sign. There's a couple good receivers at the top of this class. You got guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Tavon Austin. Those are guys that the Ravens could use. They need some help in this receiving core. Offensive line, Bryant McKinney wasn't great. Bobby Williams, Michael Orr, Marshall Yanda was really good. Matt Burke, amazing. All pro, made the Pro Bowl, I want to say. Talisha Semele, 82 superstar, was sitting on bench behind Bobby Williams, who probably will get cut after this season. So yeah, good offensive line. Defensively, Ray Lewis. And what could be Ray Lewis's last season? He led the team in tackles. He's an 89 overall mile with Ramau. He's 38 years old. This could be his last season for Mr. Ray Lewis. Bernard Pollard right behind him. Ladarius Webb, Kerry Williams, Ed Reed. Really good season for Ray Lewis. 11 tackles for loss and 11 sacks for Haloti Nagata. 10 for Arthur Jones. Suggs had 9. Couple guys. Ray Lewis had 8 and 2.5 sacks. Pernell McPhee. Haloti Nagata and Terrell Suggs both had 11 sacks to lead the team. After that, it wasn't great. Arthur Jones had 4. Courtney Upshaw had 3. Ray Lewis had 2.5, but he had 3 picks as well. Interceptions. Jimmy Smith was amazing this season. 6 interceptions. Ladarius Webb had 4. Ray Lewis had 3. Ed Reed had 3. Bernard Pollard had 2. Kerry Williams, Sean Considine, and Corey Graham all had 1. Good season. This defense was really good. A lot of forced fumbles. 3 from Ray. I mean, Ray Lewis was really good this year, I'd say the least. 3 forced fumbles from Lewis and Suggs. What overall is Terrell? 85. And a lot of 1s down there. Did they have any safeties? No safeties from this team, and defensive touchdowns. No defensive touchdowns from this team. Kicking. Justin Tucker wasn't great. Obviously, he's one of the best kickers of all time, the most accurate kicker of all time. Only hit 74% of his field goals. Hit all of his extra points. Had a field goal blocked, and he made a 61-yarder, but he missed a chip shot. Missed up to 39, 29 to 39. Missed from 39 to 49. And missed 4 from 50 or more. Had 92 kickoffs, 86 touchbacks in all 16 games he played. So not a great season from Justin Tucker. He is a really high overall. He's an 80 with X Factor. So he'll be back next season, but 74% field goal is not good. It's not. Sam Koch, 40 punts for 2,011 total yards. 50 yards per punt on average, and a net yards of 1,900. 47.6 net yards a punt. No blocked, 9 times inside the 20, 11 touchbacks. Longest punt was 67 yards. Good season from him. One of the best punters in the league. Kick return, Jacoby Jones only had 8. Bernard Pierce had 4. Punt return, Ray Rice had 18, and Ed Reed had 5. So that is all we got for the Ravens. A good season, 13-3. They just fell just short. You see, they are right below the Saints, right above the Bears. Saints missed the playoffs. Bears made it. In offense, and yeah, good season. But they fall in the AFC Championship for their second straight year against the Patriots. This time the Patriots end up winning the Super Bowl. But next year they hope to get past the Patriots if they come again in the AFC Championship. Now we move on to the Bengals. Get a couple upgrades in here. So the Bengals went 9-7, got in as the 6th seed. Ended up winning a playoff game against the Texans, who they played the year previous. So started the year out with a loss. Started the year out not good, only beating the Browns and losing to the Commanders and Jaguars. It's crazy to think that these, they had three in their first 4 games. They had 3 of the 4 worst teams in the NFL: Browns, Commanders, Jaguars. All have new head coaches. All are going to have top 5 picks, and they lost 2 of those games. They win both those games. I mean, they're now probably the 5 seed. The Bills are out. It's a lot different if they win these 2 games. So start out 1-3, but they turn that around, win 3 straight against the Dolphins, Browns, and Steelers. Followed to the Broncos, who made the playoffs, going another little 3-game winning streak, and finished the year out 2-3. So they were 7-4. Everything was looking up. Finished the year out 2-3. Finished 9-7. Needed a win and help to get into the playoffs after losing to the Steelers and Eagles and the Chargers. I mean, those are tough losses. The Chargers, the Steelers, the Jags, the Commanders. I mean, these are teams they should be beating, but they beat their Ravens B team. They get in the playoffs, and once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen, and that's exactly what happened. They won in overtime against the Houston Texans. Um, AJ Green got hurt in this game. Only had 4 catches for 49 yards. They still were able to win, but then they ran into a healthy, rested, number 1 seeded Ravens team and got killed. So it was a good season, and they got their first playoff win under Marvin Lewis. Most importantly, Marvin Lewis had never had a playoff win up to this point, and they hadn't won a playoff game since 1992, I think it was. So they had Carson Palmer, they couldn't win a playoff game. They get Andy Dalton, and they immediately win a playoff game. And it's really, they look to go up. They still have a young core: AJ Green, Andy Dalton. I mean, that's a young core that's going to be, hopefully, for them, it's going to be good for a while. 24th offense, 2nd defense. Mike Zimmer, defensive coordinator, got a lot of head coaching interviews. 23rd points scored, 2nd in points allowed. Yeah, that defense was really, really good. Mike Zimmer got a lot of head coaching interviews. Didn't get a job. Might get one next year if this defense keeps up. Andy Dalton in his 2nd season, I want to say, 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 67% completion percentage. So a good year for a 2nd-year quarterback. Bruce Gradkowski and Zach Robinson never played this season. Rushing this rushing offense wasn't great. Benjarvius Greenellis wasn't great. 5 touchdowns, 3.8 yards a carry. Ryan Leonard, 3 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. Andy Dalton had 3 touchdowns. Andy Dalton had the best yards per carry. Not counting like wide receivers, gadget plays. AJ Green did have 2 rushing touchdowns, so that's nice. But yeah, this rushing offense was bad. And the whole passing offense kind of went through AJ Green and rookie Mohamed Sanu. AJ Green, 77 catches, 1,098 yards, 11 touchdowns. Mohamed Sanu, 742 yards on 7 touchdowns on 80 catches. Andrew Hawkins, 682 and 3. Jermaine Gresham, 627 and 2. Brian Leonard, 294 and 1. And Olsen Charles, 772 and 2. So Marvin Jones is really low overall. He's lost him into something really good in real life, but here he didn't. They have James Devlin as well, Patriots legend, but he's a low overall. I'm not gonna force guys to get stuff. Maybe next year he'll take a jump, but they have a young receiving core who's pretty good. Blocking, Andrew, see that Andrew Whitworth did only play 7 games, and that was a big part of some of this up and down of the Bengals, because Andrew Whitworth didn't play a lot of games. Andre Smith, on the other side, Andrew Whitworth didn't have a good year, and then his backup, Anthony Collins, Whitworth's backup, was not good. They probably will get released with Whitworth coming back. Trevor Wharton, Kyle Cook, Kevin Zeitler. They have Clint Bowling as well. For some reason, all the offensive line is juiced in this game, in these rosters. I mean, so there's a lot of good offensive, starting 85 overall backup offensive linemen. So the offensive line market is going to be really, really good. Then we get to defense. Ray Muliaga, 1,100 or 111 tackles, 8 tackles lost, 1.5 sacks, and a pick. Nate Clements, 83 tackles. Terrence Newman, 76. Um, Leon Hall had 76. Taylor Mays, 72 tackles and a sack, 3 interceptions. Um, tackles for loss, Thomas Howard, 14. Geno Atkins, 12. Manny Lawson, 12. DeMonto Pico, 12. 16.5 sacks for Geno Atkins, 9.5 for Manny Lawson. Geno Atkins was really, really good this season. Vincent Ray had 2. Terrence Newman led the team in interceptions with 4. Nate Clements and Taylor Mays had 3. Leon Hall had 2. And a couple guys had 1. Forced fumbles, a lot of guys with 1. Didn't have a safety. Had 1 defensive touchdown by Nate Clements. Yeah, the defense was really good. A lot of playmakers. Geno Atkins, big part of that. 96 overall with morale. X Factor, he's only 25. This is a young, good team who's probably just going to keep getting better. And if they keep landing on draft picks, they're going to be really, 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 really good over the next couple years. Kicking, Mike Nugent, really, really good. Only missed 1 field goal, 2 extra points, and had 1 of them blocked. Yeah, really good season. Really good season from the Nugent Mike. Punting, Kevin Huber, I think was an All-Pro. Really, really good. Punted a lot. His offense wasn't great, but didn't matter because he was still really good. Bernard Scott was the kick returner with Brandon Tate, and punt returners AJ Green. So the Bengals go 9-7, won a playoff game. Young core. I could see him back in the playoffs next season. I really can. Now the Steelers. Up until this season, Mike Tomlin, had the Super Bowl win. We're in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Got T-bowed and just hasn't been the same. They go 5-11. Oops. Including a loss to the Cleveland Browns. Start the season out with a devastating loss to the Broncos and come back and kill the Jets. Lose to the Raiders. Beat the Eagles. So I'm like, all right, this team's legit then. They beat the Eagles. Lose to the Titans. Lose to the Bengals. And you'll notice something here. On the road, loss. On the road, loss. On the road, loss. On the road, loss. Beat the Commanders. They didn't win a road game. They went 0-8 on the road. And that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game losing streak in there was bad. They were 3-3, lost 7 straight. Yeah, they finished the year out with 2 wins at home, including the bounce Bengals, but lost to the Browns in Cleveland. Lose to the Ravens at home, lose to the Chiefs at home, lose to the Giants. They beat the Commanders. I mean, it would have been a 7-10 game losing streak if it wasn't for the lowly Commanders at home. Who they were. There was Steelers just weren't good this year. They were awful on the road. They went 0-8 on the road. And they finished 5-11 with a 2-game winning streak. 21st offense. No coaches. I mean, they're rolling with the same coaching staff. And 23rd defense. Tomlin, Haley, and LeBeau. Set 22nd in points scored, 15 in points allowed. Big Ben, 3,800 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 63% completion percentage. Looks like Carson Wentz numbers from 2021. Rashad Mendenhall, 994 and 5 touchdowns, 3.6 a carry. Isaac Redmond, touchdown to 10. Big Ben, scrambled around a little bit. Mike Wallace was the leading receiver with 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Speedy, he's good. Antonio Brown as well, who's really good. 934 and 5, 75 catches. He's only like an 80, only an 84, but he played a little bit higher than that. Emmanuel Sanders, 621 and a touchdown. Heath Miller, 538 and 6. Rashad Mendenhall had 329 yards on 33 catches, a lot of threes. Leonard Pope and Isaac Redmond, both with touchdowns. Offensive line wise, Max Starks was not good, and then Mike Adams was not good at all. So offensive line's gonna need some retooling. Both your starting tackles weren't great. Left guard wasn't great. Center wasn't great. Your right guard was good. David DeCastro didn't allow a sack. Defensively, Lawrence Timmons, 123 tackles, led the team. 15 tackles for losses for Lamar Woodley, 14 for James Harrison, 12 for Brett Kiesel, 11 for Casey Hampton, 10 for Cameron Haywood, 7 for Lawrence Timmons. I mean, they got in the backfield, obviously. That's evident. But not for sacks. 7 sacks led the team for James Harrison, 6.5 for Casey Hampton, 5 from Lamar Woodley, 5 from Brett Kiesel, 2 from Cameron Haywood. So not great. Troy Polamalu only had 2 picks with Ryan Clark. They're safeties, and they're both old. Polamalu is 32. Ryan Clark is 33. This team just is not in a great situation. 10 forced fumbles from Troy Polamalu, though. Let's talk about that. 2 from Ryan Clark, and Larry Foote, Lawrence Timmons, and Lamar Woodley all had 1. But yeah, Troy Polamalu did force a lot of fumbles. I think he led the league. And they recovered a lot of fumbles. They had 12, 15 total of forced fumbles, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. They recovered 11 of them. That's pretty good. No safeties, and Brett Kiesel and Ike Taylor both had defensive touchdowns. Sean Swisham, 33 for 39, 80. Yeah, they settled for a lot of field goals. I want to say they kicked, we'll just check it out real quick. Yeah, they kicked one of the highest amount of field goals, tied for second. 84% from the line. Hit a 60-yarder. Only missed 1 extra point. It's a good season from him. And Jeremy Capinos punted a lot and was pretty good when he punted, as you could see. Only played 54 downs, but punted 58 times. That's pretty interesting. I wonder how that happened. DeJuan Harris was your kick returner with David Gilreath. They only actually returned 6 kicks all season. And Antonio Brown was the punt returner. Did not get a touchdown. And there were no kick return touchdowns. So Pittsburgh, not a great year. They'll have a top selection. We can actually go ahead and look. They're going to have the 7th overall pick. A lot of needs in this team. Currently the 7th ranked player is Jonathan Cooper, offensive guard, which they don't really need. This draft class is kind of weak at the top. But 5-11. Mike Tomlin does stay in his job, but he's now on the hot seat. Super Bowl winning coach, but 5-11 with really high expectations this season. Not great. Not great at all. And then we get into the Browns. So this is the first team who we're looking at with a new head coach with Mark Trestman. He was coaching in the CFL, and he is now coaching for the Cleveland Browns, who went 2-14 and have the number 1 overall pick. They had 2 wins all year. and that was against the Steelers and the Giants. Um, I think if the Giants actually won this game right here, they think they're going to be in the playoffs. But a lot of losses. But they beat the Steelers at home, which was they probably celebrated that. Probably held a parade for that one. A loss to the Commanders, who are one of the worst in the league. A lot of, I mean, look at this. Thursday night, 43-point loss. I remember this game. Yeah, they benched their starters. The Ravens benched their starters. That's how bad it was. Brandon Weeden. Yeah, Brandon Weeden wasn't great. But 2-14, number one overall pick. Geno Smith, we'll see. But I mean, you have a 28-year-old rookie quarterback who threw 19 touchdowns to 19 interceptions and only completed 60% of his passes. And when Colt McCoy came in, was may have been better. 2 touchdowns, a pick, 61% completion percentage, and 194 yards. He's only 54 overall. He's already 27. Whedon's 29. I mean, going into his second season, he's 29. That's awful. Trent Richardson, first round pick, 3.9. I mean, he was good, but only had 2 touchdowns, 4 fumbles. Brandon Weeden had a rushing touchdown. Um, yeah, just not great numbers. Josh Cribbs was the leading receiver. Travis Benjamin, rookie, had a good year. Benjamin Watson had a good season. Josh Gordon had a good year, rookie as well. Trent Richardson, 2 touchdowns through there, so he matched his rushing numbers. Jordan Cameron, not great. Yeah, just not there's really nothing to look forward for with a team like this. Oop, I skipped blocking. Offensive line wasn't great. Joe Thomas had a really, really bad season. 14 sacks allowed up. And the thing with Joe Thomas is that not he necessarily didn't play bad. It's just no one was getting open, and Brandon Weeden was holding on to the ball for a long time. He had really bad pocket presence. It was bad. The other tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, allowed 14 sacks, who were both X factors. So does that say that they're bad, or is the quarterback holding on to the ball too long? John Greco, 10 sacks. Alex Mack. I mean, the whole starting offensive line is up here. And you got, it was bad. It was bad offensive line. I mean, he only allowed up 10 sacks on 480 down blades. I mean, that's every 48 snaps he was letting up a sack. So, yeah, got benched. Shane Luva and Jason Pinkston took some of the snaps, but I don't really think the offensive line played bad. I just think Brandon Weeden sucks. Joe Hayden's your leading tackler. You don't see a single linebacker up here. You have to scroll down to get to your first linebacker, which is DeQuell Jackson. This team is really, really bad. I mean, Frosty Rucker is your leading tackle for loss, 15 sacks, or 15 tackle for loss. I think he led the team sacks as well with 8, yes. Um, can't pronounce his name, won't even try. Had 12 tackles for losses. Chris Kong had 10. Jabal Sheard, Patriots legend, had 10. Phil Taylor had 9. I mean, this team just is bad. Frosty Rucker, 8 sacks. This guy had 4.5. Chris Kong had 4. TJ Ward, your safety, had 3. 3 picks from Usama Young. 2 from Joe Hayden, who is a really good corner. Kind of locked down. He was one of the few bright pieces on this team. It's hard to throw his way. T.J. Ward had a pick, and Sheldon Brown had a pick. 3 forced fumbles, 1 recovery, no safeties, and 1 defensive touchdown from T.J. Ward. Kicking, Phil Dawson was not great, 75%. He's getting older. He's 38. He is an 87, but 79 accuracy is tough. That's not bad, and that's why he kicked 75%. 25 for 25 on extra points. Reggie Hodges punted 71 times. I just need to check if that was the number one. It wasn't. Brian Anger was number one. That I believe it. Punted a lot. So, I mean, there you go. Those are the numbers. Kick return. Greg Little and Brandon Jackson both had 15 total kick returns, just over 300 yards. And Josh Cribbs, 209 for 25 returns, no touchdown. So, yeah, this team was bad. Mark Trevor. that is the end of this AFC North recap.